No one in their right mind would think that this was a true Dolce. I mean, look at it. Hello my loves, I'm Miss MonMon. Welcome to my channel. Today we are embarking on a bit of a vintage sewing adventure where I'm going to be recreating a dress I can't afford and just turning it into something amazing, but on a budget. Does anyone else go on ridiculously expensive online shopping websites, put everything they want into their cart, laugh at the final total, and then just delete all tabs forever and ever? Because I do. On a recent browsing of some expensive items, which I probably can't afford, I accidentally fell in love with this dress. This is a Dolce and Gabbana dress. It is just so bright and so vibrant, and I just love it. But then the price tag, oh girl, I do not have over $2,500 to spend on a summer day dress. So I thought, why don't I try and make something designer inspired? One part of this dress that I was not letting go was the Gerbera daisy print. I wanted something just as bright and as vibrant. I took to the internet and searched and found nothing. Everything just sort of wasn't the vibe I wanted. Either the colors were wrong, the size of the Gerberas was too small. So it took me several weeks of constantly searching until I found this listing on AliExpress. So with my fabric found, I knew it wasn't the exact print, which made me feel better. It was very similar, so I got about 4 meters. And then it arrived on my doorstep, and I was in for a rude shock. Do you see what is written here? What do I do now? So somehow the fabric that I bought has a clearly plagiarized Dolce & Gabbana logo on it, that there was no image of this in the original listing. So I sort of went a bit down a bit of an ethical dilemma spiral, because I've already purchased this fabric. I didn't know it was going to be knockoff fabric. But then I remembered I had a friend that worked in a warehouse for several designers, and they would buy out basically a whole collection and just smack their label on it. But other companies could buy that exact same product and do the same. So I wasn't quite sure whether this is designer fabric person that would sell to Dolce, because in KL you can go and buy proper branded fabric from like Prada and Fenty, and these people are definitely 100% authenticated to do so. Is this the same deal, or am I just really overthinking it? I'm overthinking it. Let's keep going. So having my fabric, it was time to look at patterns, and I knew exactly which one we were going to use. This is McCalls 7950. And I have sewn it up a few times on my blog. It is a really simple summer dress, and I thought for my designer inspired dress it would be perfect. So we were going to go with probably style C, which has all the elements I want with a little bit of jiggery pokery that I have left to do. So let's start our sewing project and see what happens. I laid out my 4 meters of cotton poplin and started to look at my pattern pieces. Because the original pattern has a button placard, I used the front bodice piece, omitted the button placard, and cut that out on a fold so I would have one continuous front piece instead of the 2 pieces that the pattern originally wanted. From there, the sides of the bodice were kept normal, but the back I just added about 1.5 inches of extra fabric so I could add in a zip and have a little bit of adjustment room. McCalls 7950 is a really simple pattern to put together. I would highly recommend it for beginners, especially if you do love that Dolce summer inspired vibe. The bodice has some very soft princess seams, and it turns out to be this really simple and beautiful bodice. I sewed my outer fabric together and then thought I'd spice it up with some really fun orange gingham lining. One thing I want to do this year is to use more of my scrap fabric, so that is where I got my lining. Because I wanted my straps to be attached inside the back of the dress, I had to do some measurements before I got them exactly where I wanted. The original straps I cut out for this pattern, I ended up thinking were too thin. So I cut out some new straps, which were 4 inches thick. By the time I sewed them, they would end up being just over 1.5 inches, which was my ideal. It gave me a bit more of that Dolce vibe. It took a little bit of jiggery pokery to get the straps exactly how I wanted them, because I sort of had to keep in mind seam allowance, placement. I didn't want the flower clustered to have either too much of a dark patch or too much of a light patch in the pattern, the print. So eventually I got them to where I wanted. But looking back, I kind of wish I gave myself a little bit more extra length on the straps, just to really satisfy my brain. When I was finally happy, I could fully attach my lining to my bodice, and basically my bodice was done. This is such an easy pattern to do. The fun came from the skirt because there was an awful lot of skirt. I normally lay out my fabric on the floor and then measure out how long I want my piece to be. I then cut out multiple panels using whatever the fabric length is as my skirt. So everyone comes out a little bit different. It just sort of keeps me and all my outfits looking a little bit more unique. So the first part of my skirt was made out of 3 panels at 22 inches of length, and all up when I sewed them together, I had over 4.5 meters of skirt. That was a lot of gathering. There is so much gathering in this project. It made me really wish I had a gathering foot on my sewing machine, but I don't. With my main skirt cut out, I moved on to my ruffle, which was made out of 6 panels of 7 inches in length, and that totaled to 9 meters of ruffle, which was a lot of ruffle. I decided it would be easier to gather the ruffle first and then attach it to the bottom of my skirt, but I also made sure to put everything through the overlocker. There was a lot of just mundane sewing in this whole skirt because there was just so much fabric to get through. I ended up creating little marks along my ruffle, which I sort of used as a guide because I knew that 2 seams should fit into 1 panel of the above skirt to give myself an even ruffle. With a mixture of dental floss and just using a wide stitch on my machine, I created some gathering channels, and from there just slowly gathered my ruffle. But eventually I had my ruffle attached to my skirt, and then I could use the dental floss method to gather the top of my skirt and then slowly attach it to my bodice. This is one of the projects that I really wanted everything to look really neat and clean. So between every step there was lots of ironing and lots of overlocking to make sure all my edges were really, really clean. But with my skirt fully attached, I could then focus on adding a zip and of course hemming the bottom of my skirt. With that done, she was almost ready to go, but it came down to selecting some buttons, which I found these ones on eBay, and once they were attached it was too late for me to realize I had forgotten to add my pockets, but it was time for her to be finished. Shall we have a look at our finished garment? Here she is in all her twirly glory. This is a project I am actually really, really proud of, as I've never tried to mimic a designer piece quite like this. I am still a little bit in two minds about how I feel about the fabric. I didn't know that I was buying something like this. It didn't have any information in the listing. I also don't know whether I should link it just in case it is dodgy, but we'll see how we go. If you guys tell me it's okay, then let's go ahead, because I honestly don't know, and every person I've talked to said it's fine, but I'm still not 100%. I did take this dress with me recently to Cooley Rocks On, which is in Coolangatta, and I had so much fun. I really loved wearing this dress whilst around Coolangatta because it was so lightweight despite all the fabric. It was really bright and colourful, and it just made me feel super cute and fun. I think in total I made this dress out of 4 meters of fabric, and it was around the $11 mark. So let's say $11. So that's $44 on fabric, plus probably add another $5 in there because I've got to add in the zip plus thread and all that. So I made this dress for under 50 bucks when she is $2,500 in the store. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It's been a lot of fun sharing a recent sewing video with you. I have a few more sewing videos coming up, but I've also had so many people wanting me to do more cooking videos. So hopefully in the next month or two, I will have some of those up. I am absolutely back on my blog and my Facebook. Instagram, I promise I will be posting. I don't know why I'm so reluctant to go back on it. No idea, but we will get there. I'm even hoping to post on Instagram before this video goes out. If you'd like any written instructions or photos of this project, of course, that is all linked in the description box below. The blog is already up and you can see photos from me wearing this around Cooley. I will be back very soon with hopefully another fun and exciting vintage video, but until then, be kind, be true, be you. Please feel free to find me and follow me on any of my social media. I would love to see you guys all there, especially now that I'm coming back to that world. But I will see you all in the next video. Bye! There's lilies!